Hello, guys. Thank you guys for joining me today here at Tactical Fishing. Just going to give you some simple tips. Um, these baits, lures, are very simple lures. I mean, you got a basic, typical worm, you know, and then you got a off color chartreuse. I recommend getting a chartreuse. Fish love it. I don't know why, but I'm going to show you how to take this very simple lure and give it some diversity and show you how to hook it up, rig it up in so many different ways, and fish these and find a way that's best effective to you. So, welcome to Tactical Fishing. All right, hello guys, welcome back to Tactical Fishing. Your boy, the Nature Boy here. We have a very cool episode today. It's going to help you catch fish and do it in a very simple way. This is a lure, typical, typical worm. There's different types, different styles. I choose to use a very thick style of worm. This is like a 6-inch yum with a chartreuse tail. Let me see what green pumpkin. Very popular worm to use to bass fish. Green pumpkin with a chartreuse tail. So you can tell it's very thick. And I also like to use Guggen baits. I like to use their 6-inch lunker logs. They also have smaller bait lunker log. I choose to use the lunker log. This is not a 6-inch lunker log, but this is a very small size. I choose to use that, the 6-inch lunker log, the bigger size, because of the weight. You know, it drops a lot faster. And also, Guggen bait rattling Ned. I use this a lot to catch smallmouth fish. There you go. And also more of a traditional worm. This is a smaller size, but it's a traditional size. You can pick, you know, you pick the yums up at Walmart. You buy these at Walmart for like $3. They're a lot more expensive now at Walmart. You can buy the Guggen baits at any Dick Sporting Good or Bass Pro Shops. So let's dig in, guys. So simple worm, like I said, about $3. You know, very simple lure. Walmart, they sell them cheap. You can buy supplies. It was to buy some line and two bags of yums probably runs you about I say get around 20 some bucks and some change to get that, and the other supplies probably like 25, not that much. And so we're gonna go right into some different ways that you can take something so simple and switch it around and change it around to something that can fit that bass's style of what they want. And it's all about presentation. It's all about the lure setup, what the fish want at that time. Some lures work universally, some work for certain type of fish. And so we're going to show you how to take this and diversify into so many different lures. I'm going to cover, I think, 4 lures with you guys today. So let's get it popping. So first one up is a traditional Texas rig style setup. Simple Texas rig style setup. And it basically just lays at the bottom. Let me tuck this in. Basically simply lays at the bottom. Very flat. Lays at the bottom. You can rig it up in Texas rig style. This is a Texas rig, not weighted. I'm using a open knot hook. 1-aught hook is preferred, but you can use a 2-aught hook. So traditional, this will be called a traditional setup, a texture rig style worm. We use that weighted, and it's very simple how you hook this up. Basically take your hook, put it right in the middle, give it about that much room, hook room, about that much. Spin that bad boy right in, and you want to line it up where you're going to put that hook. So I just kind of tuck it in the back, like so, and you have your Texas rig. So the way to retrieve this is, for me, I'll let it sink. The best way to do is let it drop down naturally without moving it, and let it hit the bottom. And what I do is, about after 15 seconds, I count about 15 seconds. And I make sure my base at the bottom, I kind of reel in a little bit. And the thing is, sometimes these fish like to hit. As soon as that bait kind of gives that natural fall, the fish are right on it. So once I realize my bait is at the bottom, I'll kind of reel a little bit to see if the fish has it, because it's free falling. And and so once that bait gets to the bottom, I'll kind of move it around a little tiny bit. As you can see, it's not really moving at all. So I'll kind of shake that to give it kind of a teaser for that fish. And then, you know, traditional way, you got to be careful. If it's weighted, you can move it a lot more. Typically, you know, if it all depends on the water, how thick the water is, and you can kind of play around with it. And you can cast it out at a short distance and see how much you can move that bait without, you know, making it look weird, where it's like floating or something like that. Or you can weight it and just test it. I would say do that first. You know, throw it at a short distance and test your bait to make sure how much you can use it. Because usually, if it's not weighted, a Texas rig not weighted, I wouldn't move it too much, and you can tell how much you can move it. Usually I'll do a 2-1, and a pawl, usually I'll pop it like twice. So it'll probably move about this much. And I'll let it sit for like 3 seconds. I make sure it's at the bottom, then I'll move it again. And it's very simple. Like I said, the setup is very simple, and the movement very simple. So I would suggest go out and practice the Texas rig style. And also you can do it weighted. Next on the list is something very, very simple. It's basically the same setup as a Texas rig, but what we call this is a Ned rig. Now you can fish the Texas rig weighted and not weighted in heavy cover rocks and stuff like that. But this particular lure, I wouldn't fish in a lot of heavy cover, not in any grass, just rocks or something like that, because it has an exposed hook. And when it has an exposed hook, it can get caught up a lot. But the difference from this bait is it sits like this. It sits up. And so the movement is the same. Like I said, you want to test it, just throw it out short distance and kind of see how fast that bait drops, how much you can move it. All depends on the water. And this bait basically sits up, you know, with an exposed hook. You know, hook those fish a lot quicker. But this bait naturally sits right up, and it's more attractive for the fish to hit, and not too much about that bait. Next on the list is very similar to that also. This is a Ned rig style. This is for like certain times of the day, man, kind of like the middle of the day, if fish want to just pick up some little grubs or something like that. And most of the time, you'll see people fishing for smallmouth bass, you know, spotted bass. You know, they're like really small things like this, especially smallmouth. And and they're basically, you can actually fish it like small creeks. I've caught a small spotted bass in a creek using a negrig style, and it's very simple. I mean, you move it the same, but probably don't want to move it too much. As you can tell, it's very small. So move it, you based upon you move it. Like I said, throw it out, a couple feet out, and just see how that bait falls and see how much you can really move that bait. And very simple. So we're moving it right along. As you can tell, there's so many ways that you can hook up your worm. And so we're moving on again, and we have another one. And now this is a wacky worm. Now, tell you, I had started using this, and they have a special weight. It's called a wacky style weight. You can basically drill that in, and it has a flat like weight on it, and it basically gives that bait weight to fall, because the way it looks, it's built into it, the way it looks really natural. It's because you can get green or all black, but I used a crappy lure you can save money like that, basically bent the hook down. But as you can tell, the hooks are a lot smaller, and they also have hooks, for this particular bait. You can buy a wacky style. I mean, drop shot. It's called drop shot hook. You can find that. I should just go into a place like Dick's Sporting Goods or Bass Pro Shops, where people can kind of tell you, okay, what to do, what to look for. So, simple setup: a hook on the weight, a weight, and then the hook. But you want to hook it in the back to give it that. They call it wacky weight because it gives that little movement like this, and it's perfect movement. I think it was like a 6-pounder. I hooked up on one of these. It was something different. It was a place where I thought the fish were very stagnant, but it's just a certain way you hook up your stuff. That place goosed me for like weeks, and I finally went there. I used the wacky style and hooked up with a 6-pounder. And so as this bait falls, of course, it'll land like this. As you can tell, it'll land just like this. And the cool thing about this is that bait is moving. You can sit there and just work that bait, and work it. And you can pause. You can work that bait, and it's basically to look more appetizing for the fish. For something to move around like this at the bottom. It's very appetizing. Like I said, this is really appetizing because it sits up just like this. It sits up, so it's appetizing for the fish. Last but not least is the drop shot. Now it takes a lot more focus, a lot more skill. You have to get really used to it. The other ones you can, kind of learn on your own, just throwing it out and just testing it. But this takes a lot more skill. Now, as you can tell, this is set up totally different from everything else I showed you today. This is a drop shot type worm. You can find these at I would suggest going to Dick's Sporting. Like I said, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shops. You can talk to people about that. And this is a drop shot hook, and they also have drop shot weights. But this is a 1.5 weight. And so with this, it's kind of like I set it up as a wacky, but you can set it up hook through the front. But I just hook it right there, kind of in the middle. And so as you throw this out, and let me grab it a certain way. All right, as you throw this out, this bait will kind of linger. You kind of give it some pops as it falls down. Like I said, you're going to throw it out and kind of test it, what you can do and not to do. You have to really pay attention to that weight to see if that's at the bottom. Learn how to get that bait in time to fall to the bottom. Basically, just kind of move it around a little bit. Know where your weight is. So once you let that bait kind of settle, you can move it around a little bit. You can even drag this bait and just move it around. It just gives that extra movement to it. And that's it for today, bass fishing tips, man. Like I said, you can do so much, like $25. You can do so much with just a plain worm. And usually, as a bass fisherman, these are kind of the backup things. For me, within the 10 years period, this has been the thing for me, a Texas rig style. Well, I use mine weighted though. Sometimes I use it without a weight, but this has been the breadwinner for me for catching bass over the 10-year period. And also the Ned rig style has caught me a lot of fish. And there are some other baits I'm working on. Wacky worm style that's helped me a lot. And so that is it for today, man. Kind of go over some of these again. You can buy these yums about $3. A lot more expensive now because it's fishing season, of course. Buy these at any Walmart. You can buy these. And also Guggen Bait Rally Ned. Buy these at Dick's Sporting Goods or Bass Pro Shops. Very, very cool. And also Guggen Bait Lunker Logs. You can also buy the bigger size. I prefer you go buy the bigger size. It's awesome to use as a Texas rig, not weighted. That way you can throw in shallow water and it just sinks without using a weight. And this is what I was using. This is a crappy lure. You can buy bigger weights at Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shops. A lot cheaper than the ones, because they have certain ones that are made for the types of fishing that I talked about today. And also you have your traditional worm. I would say go with a black worm, they call it black trick worms. These are a smaller size, but they come at 6-inch. I prefer you get like an all black trick worm, or this is like a green pumpkin. Get a chartreuse tail green pumpkin. Bass Pro Shops have loads of these. So that is it for today. Thank you guys for joining me here at Tactical Fishing. Subscribe and go out, get it popping. I would say try the Texas rig worm first, and this is your Texas. I would suggest try a Texas rig first. Get used to that. Throw it weightless. Throw it with the weight on it and practice that. Catch some fish with it, and then you can move up to a wacky rig. And once you get experience with those, everything goes come a lot easier. And so that is it for today. Thank you guys for joining me here again at Tactical Fishing. Until next time, remember, keep it popping.